What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was the Son of Whitebeard Part 9. Now let's begin. Chapter 101. Let Whitebeard Feel the Terror of the Blood Mist. Kirigakure's Grand Assembly. Damn it. This is Whitebeard, a pirate who knows nothing about the ninja world. He simply does not take our Kirigakure ninja village seriously. An irritated voice resonated through the Mizukage's office. Even if Kirigakure Yagura's blood mist policy proved controversial, there were still some ninjas who might benefit from it. They adopted the blood mist strategy to strengthen their clans, which were numerous. They frequently become ardent followers of Kirigakure Yagura. The speaker was a Jonin from Kirigakure village. This individual leads a ninja clan in Kirigakure village. His temples were somewhat graying. His face was angry. That man isn't even taking the Mizukage seriously. He murdered Kurosuke Raiga and Tominori Aomizu, then took the shipyard. We were about to settle the score with him. But, surprise, the person came right to us, arrogant. Very arrogant, he said, gritting his teeth. Mizukage, I say we go directly to murder Whitebeard. We can't allow a pirate like him come here. Otherwise, Kirigakure village would lose face. We need to eliminate him before he comes near to Kirigakure village. This manner, the ninja world would understand that the Kirigakure ninja is not easily provoked. Such a daring proposition drew no pushback. If this had happened in Konohagakure village, his remarks would have been challenged by at least 5 or 6 individuals. However, in places such as Kirigakure village no one will disagree. But not everyone is here. Another Kirigakure Jonin looked around and observed. Some people from the Kekkei Genkei clans seem unwilling to respond to the call. HMPH. Those creatures with Kekkei Genkei should all be eliminated. They are not just unfaithful to the town, but also a collection of unstable elements. Keeping such a group of monsters in the land of water will only bring disaster to the land of water and Kirigakure village. Hey, don't discuss this at this time. After someone said this, the conversation eventually reverted to Whitebeard. Mizukage-sama, please give your order. Everyone focused on Kirigakure Yagura. It's hard to believe that such a young-looking individual is the 4th Mizukage of Kirigakure village. And the perfect Jinchuriki. Kirigakure Yagura sat in his chair, hands clasped, chin resting on the back of his hand, elbows on the table. He said in a deadly tone, attack directly. Kill Whitebeard. The ninja world seems to have forgotten the fear of the Kirigakure ninja due to the village's activities throughout the years. Today, the whole ninja world will see Kirigakure village's great might. Yes, Mizukage-sama. There are many ninjas in this gang that do not follow Kirigakure Yagura, but they can't say anything right now. After all, Whitebeard was responsible for killing a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen as well as 4 Kirigakure ninjas. He also murdered a business colleague from Kirigakure village. Given these conditions, they couldn't find fault with Kirigakure Yagura's judgment, but many individuals felt an unsettling feeling. Genji-sama, aren't you going to say a few words? Ao gazed at Genji's slumped posture. He muttered in a low only Ao could hear, if we approach Whitebeard directly in this manner, many people in the village will undoubtedly perish. By the way, Terumi Mei's persuasion was probably unsuccessful. Otherwise, Whitebeard would not have made the effort to visit. Genji enjoys a unique status in Kirigakure village. He helped the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Mizukage. He is the oldest and most revered elder in Kirigakure village. Genji shakes his head. Let it be, he murmured in a voice that only Ao heard. As the Mizukage, I can't stop the orders Yagura has decided to issue. Ao became quiet. He smiled bitterly and said, I'm afraid we'll have to collide with Whitebeard, who can destroy a ninja village. I only hope not too many people die. Else, the village's strength would be decreased by many percentage points. In a corner of the office, Biwa Juzo gazed indifferently at a group of Kirigakure ninja. Some were filled with murderous desire, ardent and surging, while others hid their evil intents with a hesitant face. He whispered to Zabuza next to him, if you want to stay in the community and accomplish something important, remember those who remain mute. They're likely to become your allies. Hey. I don't need a bunch of wastes ruled by fear. These folks will just set me back in the future. Zabuza scoffed. In his perspective, Those quiet individuals may be displeased with the blood mist policy, but those people didn't want to do anything from beginning to finish because of the might of the fourth Mizukage. They are merely cowards. You. Biwa Juzo was speechless. When will you tone down your arrogance? Until the moment I die. Zabuza laughed grimly. After stating this, Zabuza turned his chilly stare to the right, as if feeling something, and saw a guy with an unusual appearance staring this way. Hoshigaki Kisame. Zabuza couldn't stop licking his lips. Kisame shifted his attention away. He did not speak. Let's go. Biwa Juzo slapped Zabuza on the shoulder, prepared to kill that Whitebeard. Time has gone. I'm not sure whether the ninja monsters I sent out had time to relay the message back. The coup plan must be advanced. Terumi Mei was fast moving through the woodland outside Kirigakure village. She, Whitebeard, and the others are now extremely near to Kirigakure village, with a travel time of no more than a day. The forest in the Land of Water is radically different from Konohagakure village. The woodland here is dense with fog and wetness, giving people a very humid sensation, and there is a subtle odor of mildew in the air. Snakes and insects are the most prevalent creatures in the forest. The most prevalent vegetation are thorny vines. The atmosphere is really hostile. However, this is also typical. Only the Land of Fire has a more normal atmosphere than the other 5 main ninja kingdoms. The Land of Fire boasts not only a comfortable climate, but also a non-extreme environment. The other ninja communities have always thought it was a fantastic cake. If Konohagakure village in the Land of Fire does not have sufficient power, I am concerned that the whole Land of Fire may be partitioned among the 4 big nations. This kid is really not simple. Terumi Mei took a moment to turn back and saw Naruto behind her. He can keep up with my speed without the help of others. Yes. Naruto received no support while on the journey. When he released all of the weights on his body, his pace increased dramatically. He has a lot of stamina. Is he really only 6 years old? Terumi Mei was skeptical. Such physical power and speed made him seem to be 16 years old, as well as a brilliant ninja. Naruto, aren't you tired? Terumi Mei couldn't help but be inquisitive. She told Naruto the following. You have been running at full speed for so long, you are just a 6-year-old child. Because this is far from his limit. Before Naruto could respond, Kakashi stated to Terumi Mei. Naruto ran 100 meters in 4.5 seconds under 800 kilograms some time ago. Terumi Mei's gorgeous eyes widened. A weight of 800 kilogram? 100 meters in 4.5 seconds? It may not be shocking if Naruto is an adult taijutsu ninja, yet he does not seem to be an adult. Although it may seem quick, asking will not help, but I still want to know how many ninjas are now in Kirigakure village. Kakashi elaborated. Having some preliminary information can at least give me a count. Terumi Mei remained quiet for a minute. She said, after you murdered Kurosuke Raiga, the 4th Mizukage started summoning ninjas back to the village. After these days, the number of ninjas who have returned to the hamlet, along with the number of ninjas already there, will undoubtedly exceed 500. Terumi Mei felt a twinge of remorse. If Kirigakure village was at its pinnacle, the more than 500 ninjas would have to be doubled by 10 or 20. Unfortunately, Kirigakure has long been barren. More than 500 people? Kakashi's eyelids jumped. He felt that this journey was akin to committing death with Whitebeard while also dragging Naruto along. But, thinking back to Whitebeard's incredible power, it seems, it is possible to beat Kirigakure. If Shisui wishes to repay Whitebeard, the other person may decide to help the tyrant by assisting Whitebeard in invading Kirigakure village. Kakashi thought about that. Green Demon. Think about it this way. They are definitely quite powerful, even frighteningly powerful. Kakashi decided he should remove the Konohagakure headband at that moment so that he might be a temporary non-Konohagakure ninja. Even if he couldn't get off the thief ship, Konohagakure would not be involved. Huh? What is the matter? Kakashi quickly observed that Whitebeard had halted behind him. What's wrong? Terumi Mei has also stopped. She glanced around in bewilderment. Garara. Whitebeard halted, standing like an iron tower as Murakumogiri was planted on the ground. He chuckled, his keen eyes seeming to be able to pierce the woodland mist. It seems that we don't need to go to that kirigakure village. Huh. Naruto did not respond for a long, scratching his head in perplexity. Pops, why not go? Kakashi responded immediately. His students concluded, Kirigakure village acted before us. Whitebeard must have noticed the anomaly. He quickly stared at Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei was astonished. It has nothing to do with me. Terumi Mei soon stated, I sincerely wanted to invite Whitebeard-sama to cooperate. The ninja beast I sent back to deliver the message only went to those I trusted. Furthermore, the ninja beast may not have returned to Kirigakure village yet. She tightened her teeth. I swear on my life that I did not betray the Whitebeard pirates. I am acting openly and honestly, and I will never betray my allies. Terumi Mei did not seem to be lying to Kakashi in this situation. Their footprints must have been uncovered by Kirigakure village spies. Then Kirigakure decided to take the initiative. That's troublesome. Uchiha Shisui leapt onto a tree, keeping a close eye on his surroundings, and his right palm automatically caressed the ninja blade at his belt. Sternly said Shisui, if we attack Kirigakure village, the ninjas of Kirigakure village will be hindered by the fact that it is their territory and will instinctively not want to cause too much damage to their own ninja village. In that case, we actually have the advantage. But once the battlefield is moved to this wilderness, the Blood Mist ninjas of Kirigakure village will definitely stop at nothing and are not afraid of any aftermath. Uzumaki Fushi guarded Karen behind him, and handed Karen a set of kunai. She earnestly told Karen, Karen, observe the enemy. Calm down and use your innate Kagura hard eye. Yes, Mom, Karen said, nodding enthusiastically. Kagura hard eye. Kakashi was taken aback by the familiar name and turned to stare at Karen. He recalled that his teacher's wife was also familiar with this approach. He saw that the red-haired young girl had closed her eyes and seemed to be attempting to perceive something. Karen's chakra was thriving. Although not exceptionally powerful, the chakra changes were apparent to the naked eye, impressing onlookers with the Uzumaki clan's intrinsic physical aptitude. Well, there are so many bad guys. Karen's small face paled as Kagura's mind's eye opened, but she persisted on telling what she saw. Pops, Mom, there are so many bad guys. They're over there, Karen pointed forward. Terumi Mei saw this and wondered, is this little red-haired girl a sensory ninja? What a powerful sense of perception. There is no ordinary person in the Whitebeard pirate group. She glanced in the direction Karen had pointed. That's the direction of Kirigakure village. Terumi Mei's expression was grave, and she was little embarrassed. I'm in trouble. I won't have to fight against the ninjas in my own village, right? Little girl. How close are they? Terumi Mei quickly inquired. 600 meters. Karen had just finished speaking and instantly corrected. No, it's 550 meters. Only 500 meters. No, it's less than 500 meters. Huh, Karen said, immediately opening her eyes. She sat on the floor, as if she had fallen. Gasping for air, Karen apologized to Whitebeard. Sorry, Pops. This is my limit. Gurara. Whitebeard laughed heartily, without criticizing Karen, and said, well done. You are worthy of being my Whitebeard's daughter. With such a talented ability, you will definitely be able to become a famous pirate in the future. Don't be too self-deprecating, stupid daughter. Karen's sleepy eyes brightened slightly. She glanced at Whitebeard with adoration. Less than 500 meters, there is no time to set up traps. It seems that they don't want to give us this time either. Kakashi said solemnly. The assassins who are good at assassination, they won't want to fight us hard, will they? There is a possibility. Terumi Mei said with an expression that was complicated. The behavior and temperament of the fourth Mizukage are becoming more and more unpredictable. Anything is possible. Now that things have come to this, I can only fight to the death. Terumi Mei said with a deadly expression. The only way to break the game is to hold the fourth Mizukage hostage, or kill him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a sequence of inaudible noises entered the ears. Everyone just glanced in the direction of the disturbance and saw thickly packed shadows in the woodland fog. The shortest distance between the two sides is about a dozen meters, while the furthest is only a few tens to hundreds of meters. The mood of slaughter pervaded the woodland. The diminutive fourth Mizukage, Kirigakure Yagura, also arrived in person. A faint crimson light flared in the depths of his eyes, and he whispered to himself, "Whitebeard." His voice was not really his own. Another unfamiliar voice could be heard. Kirigakure Yagura hooked the corner of his mouth. "Let us see if a man like you can turn Kirigakure village upside down. The man who defeated Orochimaru and Sasori, don't disappoint me. Let me see how strong you are." The voice was so low that only he could hear it. Even the Kirigakure Anbu standing next to him couldn't hear it. At this point, everyone's attention was on Whitebeard. There are several individuals on the side of Kirigakure village. Looking around, there are hundreds of people. Well-known characters in the ninja world include Kirigakure Yagura, Ao, Kisame, Zabuza, and Biwa Juzo. And ninjas who are not well-known in the ninja community yet seem to be rather strong. A person weaved through the jungle, in a matter of moments. Kirigakure had fully enveloped Whitebeard and the others, and the malicious aura that had swept across the forest seemed to have grown in strength. "Whitebeard." Kirigakure Yagura leapt off the tray. His voice was loud and brilliant this time, and the murderous purpose in his tone was not hidden. "Killing 4 Kirigakure Chunin. Killing one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. You dare to stay in the land of water, and even approach Kirigakure village. You're really bold and reckless. HMPH. Our Kirigakure village is not like Kusagakure village." Everything Kirigakure Yagura spoke did not suit his character. In the eyes of those who knew him, he was a stranger. "And you, Terumi Mei?" Kirigakure Yagura stared at Terumi Mei, who was wearing a complicated expression in front of Whitebeard, and remarked coldly, "I didn't expect you to betray the village and become a Kirigakure traitor who leads the way for the enemy. You disappoint me." He expressed displeasure, but his tone did not reflect it. And he declared Terumi Mei a traitor without hesitation. He did not even ask Terumi Mei a question without first conducting an inquiry. Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei. Ao, one of the Kirigakure ninjas, was astonished and gazed at Terumi Mei curiously. Didn't she fail? How could she be with Whitebeard? Maybe she succeeded, but why would she invite Whitebeard over? The scenario went beyond Ao's expectations. He could not figure it out at all. Wait. Who are these two? Ao had already removed the eye patch from his face, and his Byakugan enabled him to see numerous things in the misty woodland of the land of water. Good eyes. He saw Kakashi Uchiha and Uchiha Shisui. However, both of them had already removed the Konohagakure forehead protectors from their bodies, and he was unsure if they were genuine humans for a time. Huh? Sharingan? Ao came upon Kakashi's Sharingan, which could not be turned off at all. That's him. Hitaki, Kakashi. Ao was astonished. What is going on? Not only did Terumi Mei deviate from the predetermined plan, but she also summoned Whitebeard and Hitaki Kakashi from Konohagakure village. How did she bring Hitaki Kakashi? If he is really Kakashi Hitaki, may the other guy who seems extremely familiar be Konohagakure's Shisui of the body flicker. Ao took a big breath. But suddenly, a remark from the fourth Mizukage, Kirigakure Yagura, forced Ao to pause his random musings. It seems that the ninja world has forgotten the terror of the blood mist. Kirigakure Yagura's voice reached every Kirigakure ninja's ears. Then let us use the Destroyer of Nations with a bounty of 100 million to make a sacrifice. Allow the ninja world to experience the dread caused by the blood mist again. Go. Kill Whitebeard. Whitebeard. Terumi Mei didn't mind that she had unexpectedly become a renegade ninja. She hastily told Whitebeard, "There are many of our people among the Kirigakure ninjas." Terumi Mei discovered that Whitebeard had disregarded her remarks. She watched as Whitebeard stepped over her, and stood in front of her. Walking in a pool of water. Gurararararara. Whitebeard held Murakumogiri in one hand, while the huge cloak over his back fluttered. Whitebeard smiled as he looked about. So, this is one of the 5 major ninja villages in your ninja world. It is actually a little stronger than Kusagakure village. However, his remarks did not sound like compliments. It seemed more like a hint of mocking, rather than expressing appreciation. HMPH. How dare you laugh so arrogantly here? Water release, water shockwave. A group of ninjas who respected the 4th Mizukage's Blood Mist Edict took the initiative, following Kirigakure Yagura's direction. They did not hesitate, and successfully created seals. As many as dozens of kirigakure ninjas acted simultaneously. All of them used the same ninjutsu. Within an instant, waves of water rushed towards Whitebeard like a lake spilling forth, and the water flow quickly wiped away the forest's trees. The water flow blasted tree trunks of at least a 1-meter diameter into wood chips. Water release, water shock wave. Suddenly, a man appeared in front of Whitebeard. That was Hitaki Kakashi. Kakashi's Sharingan was whirling wildly, and the ninjutsu he deployed was water shock wave. 2 huge and little water flows clashed violently, exploding midway. A lot of water splashed. However, Kakashi's ninjutsu alone was unable to fight the ninjutsu of dozens of ninjas. He simply had to break through one of them. Then he could unleash hundreds of kirigakures, water shock waves, to the left and right, accomplishing the goal of shattering the surface with a point while allowing the opponent's assault to retreat. Yes, this was the situation. 2 water flows that spilled out like a vast lake rushed to the left and right of Whitebeard. Washing away the trees on both sides, the broken wood splashed madly. "Gararararara, white-haired brat, you're not bad," Whitebeard said, looking down at Kakashi. Kakashi took a big breath. He was saying, "Whitebeard, you are our key to breaking the situation. Whether we can break out or not depends on you. You can't let yourself be dragged down by these people, and your physical strength shouldn't be wasted in such a place, otherwise, it will be troublesome later. Although there are many of them, they can't act at the same time, otherwise they will hurt their own people." Kakashi quietly pondered, in such an encirclement, the enemies we face at the same time will not exceed 100 people. We should. Huh? Before he completed his statement, Kakashi's pupils shrank. He swiftly pulled out a kunai and blocked it on the left. Clang! The sharp sound of metal colliding preceded the apparition of a person. One of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Kubikiribocho, Biwa Juzo. Kakashi immediately recognized the person. "I didn't expect I could meet Kakashi of the Sharingan here." Biwa Juzo had Kubikiribocho in his palm. The blade of Kubikiribocho clashed with Kakashi's kunai, sparking a rush of energy. Biwa Juzo narrowed his eyes and smiled. "You ninjas from Konohagakure village, do you want to join Whitebeard? Invade our Kirigakure village and start a war? Can I say this is an unavoidable coincidence? And this has nothing to do with Konohagakure village." Sweat streamed down Kakashi's brow, but he wasn't sure whether it was an illusion. He always had the impression that the other side didn't utilize their full might. This Biwa Juzo is perplexed. What exactly does he mean? At the same moment, there was a sudden sound of shurikens being thrown by other kirigakure ninjas. Looking around, a great quantity of shuriken fell like rain. It was like a rain, and the rain was devastating. Fire release, multiple phoenix fire claw red. Shisui's voice seemed abrupt. Each kunai and shuriken is engulfed in flames. They headed straight for the shuriken fired by the kirigakure ninjas, and sparked an explosion. Bunches of firelight blossomed in midair, and the explosive firelight, along with shock waves, knocked all of the surrounding shuriken away. Fire release, Great Fire Dragon Jutsu. Shisui did not stop. He immediately made seals, and a massive fire dragon emerged from his mouth, heading directly for the 4th Mizukage, Kirigakure Yagura. The blazing flames forced several kirigakure ninjas to alter their faces. Water release, Great Shark Bullet Jutsu. A water chakra shark erupted from Kirigakure and crashed with Shisui's Great Fire Dragon. Boom! The explosion triggered by the 2 large-scale ninjutsu blew away numerous mist shadow ninjas, and a big volume of steam created a heated thick fog, causing people's skin to gradually become red. Within 100 meters, the environment seemed to have transformed into a sauna, causing them to sweat like rain. This level of battle is not something Chunin can get involved in. Kisame held his large blade, Samahata, and stated emotionlessly, "Those below Jonin, just get out of here." He wasn't sure why Kirigakure Yagura had sent Chunin here. Does he want to utilize quantity or quality? But these individuals are insufficient, correct? Kisami's eyes shifted to Uchiha Shisui from afar. A ninja who is good at fire release. He smiled. My Samahata likes you very much. Tsurumi Mei saw the conflict explode in an instant. Her brows were wrinkled, and at the time, Tsurumi Mei unexpectedly flashed and reached out to grip someone's wrist in the fog. She could see that the person's hand held a kunai. Zabuza, your silent killing technique is becoming increasingly advanced. Tsurumi Mei gazed at Zabuza, who was nearby, with chilly eyes. She remarked, but it's still a little raw. Zabuza let out a tisk sound. Unexpectedly, you took the lead in rebellion, Zabuza intimated. I didn't want to do it so soon, but there was a little accident. I wanted to wait for half a year before taking action, but this Mr. Whitebeard, he can't wait that long. Tsurumi Mei stated. Do you think you can kill the Mizukage with that big guy? Zabuza shook free of Tsurumi Mei's grip. Tsurumi Mei replied gently, in the end, if we never try, how will we know? There are many individuals in Kirigakure village who have their own ambitions. Over the years, Karitachi Yagura has implemented a blood mist policy. He has long since lost the hearts of the people. Only a few Kirigakure ninjas would choose to be loyal to him. Ninjas like Biwa Juzo and Zabuza, who had long been rebellious, had the time to converse with Kakashi and Tsurumi Mei. With Whitebeard's remarkable observation, Haki, he can take it all into consideration. Gurarararara. This ninja village is really united, Whitebeard said, gazing directly at Karitachi Yagura. This little ninja can't control them, can he? HMPH. Karitaki Yagura said harshly. Stop talking nonsense. Karitaki Yagura's steely eyes focused on Whitebeard, and their gazes connected in midair. He added, you are already surrounded by Chunin and Jonin from Kirigakure village. As a pirate, all you can do is bark here. The grin on Whitebeard's face did not fade, instead, it became stronger. Is your confidence to fight against the Whitebeard pirates coming from the weak ninja kids of the Kirigakure village? When Whitebeard spoke this statement, everyone present was stunned. Everyone there, including Kakashi, had an odd feeling of palpitation. In the next instant, a terrible aura emanated from Whitebeard, and visible black arcs of electricity appeared in the fog, as if you could hear the bzzzzzzzzzzz sound of electric arcs. The rapid explosion of Conqueror's haki seemed to be considerable, dispersing the surrounding fog. It made every Kirigakure ninja's figure obvious. A squad of Kirigakure ninjas felt a powerful wind blowing on their faces. Their mind became buzz. Their bodily motions ceased instantly. Their awareness was stomped by an unseen palm, and the serious expression in their gaze vanished dramatically. Their eyeballs rolled upward. Plop. The first Kirigakure ninja foamed at the mouth and fell from a tree limb, causing a domino cascade. The second and third. The 100th. The third 100th. All of the Kirigakure ninjas underneath Jonin suddenly lost consciousness. Some fell face down in shame, some wavered and slumped on the ground, and others tripped and smashed into the water ditch. Looking around, all of the Kirigakure ninjas had lost their fighting abilities. They fell asleep immediately. They had no idea what transpired in the second before they went out. What's going on? Biwa Juzo's pupils shrank. He clutched the Kabikirabocho with both hands to control Kakashi's kunai, and took the opportunity to gaze back at the Kirigakure ninjas that fell behind him. The frightening aura emanating from Whitebeard made one of the 7 ninja swordsmen feel horrified. Biwa Juzo accepted this for a brief period. His legs trembled for a half-second. Cold perspiration dripped from his brow, trickling down his cheeks, and the sight in his eyes was magnificent. His expression was full of fear. That man. Kisame glanced at Whitebeard incredulously. He stood with a sword in one hand, and his overpowering aura was that of a sea deity. Is there a killing intent? Kisame likewise saw numerous comrades collapse, and he estimated that there were fewer than 30 individuals remaining in Kirigakure who could still stand. And of these less than 30 individuals, half were standing in emphatic support. Kisame was unknowingly beginning to become thrilled. His smiling smile was trembling. What a terrifying man. He glanced at Whitebeard, his face full with a long-lost fighting spirit. I really want to fight one-on-one with such a man. In this way, Even if I die, I will have no regrets. The Conqueror's haki from Whitebeard flooded over Kisami's heart. This causes complicated and erratic blood flow throughout his whole body. My chakra is affected, Kisame said to himself. Just by momentum, it can affect a person's mind, spirit, and even body, and can affect physical things in reality. Kisame got an odd notion in his heart. If he followed such a guy, it would be much superior than following Kiritachi Yagura, right? Bang! On the opposite side, Terumi Mei's blow knocked Momochi Zabuza back. As he withdrew, he almost collapsed. But he gritted his teeth and rose up with a fierce resolve, attempting to regain the stability of his knees. His hand, which held the kunai, was sweaty. When he stared at Whitebeard, his eyes were filled with horror. You. Zabuza intended to question Terumi Mei, but Terumi Mei's reply was identical to his. Terumi Mei was also astonished. Obviously, this was her first experience with Whitebeard's Conqueror's haki. But she clearly didn't know what it was. She simply knew it was a kind of momentum. A frighteningly powerful momentum. Is this the foundation of Whitebeard Sama's, who dares to attack Kirigakure village now? Terumi Mei had at length understood. She recognized that if Whitebeard used such a tactic, he would have no fear of the hundreds or thousands of ninjas in Kirigakure village. All of the ninjas below Jonin were unconscious. How terrible is that? Kakashi-senpai, what is this? Shisui was unconcerned since Whitebeard handled it with care this time and did not use Conqueror's haki to attack Shisui, Kakashi, or others. Kakashi took advantage of the chance and sprang backward, separating himself from the unusually powerful Biwa Juzo. He revealed to Shisui in hushed tones. This appears to be a strange ability technique of Whitebeard. It can unleash a momentum strong enough to knock people unconscious. Kakashi-senpai, it appears that not only renders people unconscious. Shisui stared up at the azure sky. The clouds thousands of meters high in the sky have been dispersed. He uttered this in a trance-like tone. Gurararararara. Whitebeard's heartfelt laughter resonated over the heavens. His laughing, coupled by the washing of Conqueror's haki, sounded as if it might penetrate the eardrum and stab a person's soul. Kirigakure kids, don't naively think that the Whitebeard pirates and those small pirates in your ninja world are the same. When the Whitebeard pirates want to invade and occupy a kingdom, even the 5 old guys in the world government have to hold a meeting to decide whether to abandon that country or not. Whitebeard detailed his pirate crew's glorious achievements. He gave Kiritachi Yagura an unflattering appearance. Kirigakure brat, where is your killing intent just now? The very moment Whitebeard's words dropped, he instantly broke out. Whitebeard sliced at Kiritachi Yagura without hesitation, holding Murakumogiri in 2 hands instead of 1 and turning a magnificent knife flower. Swish. This naginata wonderfully suits the breath of air, trees, stones, soil, and other things. Everything in its path has been cut open. The slicing assault ripped through the air, unstoppable. The cutting assault created a gale that tossed several unconscious Kirigakure ninjas into the air. It is unclear how far they will be hurled. However, when they fall, they will undoubtedly shatter at least 1 bone. Is it an instant ninjutsu? Kiritachi Yagura was taken aback. He had a mild discomfort in his back, like if he had PTSD. The undetectable red glow in his eyes grew somewhat more visible. But don't underestimate me. He discovered a water mirror buried in his palm. He had hidden a ninjutsu for some minutes. Water release, water mirror technique. The water mirror in his palm suddenly grew in size, reaching at least 8 meters in diameter. And similar Whitebeard crept out of the water mirror. And similar Whitebeard carried Murakumogiri in his hand. And sliced at the actual Whitebeard. The actual Whitebeard stabbed at the similar Whitebeard. The 2 slashing blows met in midair. The slicing assault broke out while blazing, and layers of airwaves rolled up, forcing the earth to be slashed inch by inch. Pucci. A poor Kirigakure ninja was impacted. That was a unique Jonin from Kirigakure. He had been fighting hard to stay alert and not be stunned by Whitebeard, but then the horrible aftermath of the cutting impact struck, engulfing his whole body. In a second, he was torn into a cloud of blood mist. He did not even have time to yell. Boom! With a tremendous rumbling, the two cutting assaults were cancelled, and the surrounding region was destroyed. This guy's casual slash is approaching the power of an S-rank ninjutsu? Kirigakure Yagura's eyelids rose in surprise. He hasn't shown his vibration power yet. That's the ability that defeated Orochimaru and Sasori. Kirigakure Yagura's awareness has long been dominated by another consciousness. That's why he had ideas that contradicted his identity. You're quite capable, kirigakure kid. Whitebeard was beaming. You ninjas have a lot of tricks. But this ninjutsu, there's a limit to it, right? The minute Whitebeard's words dropped, everyone felt horrible. Retreat quickly. Ao, who had activated Byakugan, was perplexed as to why he couldn't see the chakra fluctuation in Whitebeard's body, but he did see that Whitebeard was prepared to use his strength. He was sweating heavily and frantically yelled to the Jonin from the same village, Edward Newgate, the destroyer of nations, is about to exert his power. Just then, Whitebeard's right hand was enveloped in white light. This type of visual impact usually makes people think of Oenoki's dust release. The following second, Whitebeard demonstrated to them by actual acts that his vibration strength was not comparable to Oenoki's. Whitebeard punched the air. That was a light punch. However, it made the air in front of him seem to be broken like glass, and the clear sound of glass breaking caused everyone's expression to shift dramatically. Kakashi moved fast and grasped Shisui's shoulder. He quickly drew Shisui back and they retreated together. He understood the potency of this light punch better than anybody else. That's the skill that defeated the third Hokage, Shimura Danzo, and Orochimaru, and even demolished Kusagakure village. A bunch of Kirigakure ninjas didn't respond as quickly as Kakashi. Buas. The instant they heard the sound of glass breaking, they sensed the world losing its hue. The Kirigakure ninjas' emotions altered dramatically as the impact conveyed by the vibration power impacted them head-on. They opened their lips and vomited a large amount of blood mixed with internal organ parts. Their stomachs were particularly vulnerable in the face of this earthquake. The garments and ninja equipment on their bodies were smashed in the first place. The bones in their bodies produced the sound of crackling fractures. Their 7 orifices didn't bleed. They were spilling blood. When Biwa Juzo, who was wielding the beheading blade, heard the sound of glass breaking, his heart sent him a powerful warning. He quickly lifted the Kabikirabocho to block ahead of him. However, he discovered that it was completely ineffective. Puff. The tremendous vibrating impact made every cell in his body feel as if it had been pounded mercilessly. A mouthful of ancient blood spurted from his lips. His look was really harsh and twisted. His whole body, including the roughly 200-pound beheading sword, was thrown backwards like a feather in a storm, smashing 2 trees in succession behind him. For every tree he smashed, numerous bones in his body fractured, and the palm of his hand holding the beheading blade loosened unintentionally, until his whole body collided with a rock far behind him. Puff. Another mouthful of ancient blood poured forth. Cough. He slumped his body. His body was in excruciating anguish. His awareness was foggy. It's a dreadful disaster. If I had known, I would have agreed with that lady named Conan sooner. That way, I wouldn't have to suffer here today. Biwa Juzo could only speak this statement sporadically, as his body's agony and tiredness caused his awareness to become blurry and sleepy. He attempted to open his eyes to see Whitebeard in the distance, but he'd been blown away. He couldn't see Whitebeard's almost 6-meter-tall figure with his naked eyes, and he could only see the dust rising in the sky ahead of him. This must be at least 1,000 meters distant, correct? Biwa Juzo moaned. He passed out. Bang! Kisami's corpse landed hard in a lake. When his back reached the lake's surface, he couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood, despite his previous ability to discharge water. The bandage wrapped around Samahata in his hand had long since cracked. Kisami's bloodshot eyes were wide with amazement. Why doesn't his technique use chakra? Kisame had planned to use Samahata to absorb the opponent's chakra, but as the vibration force surged, he discovered that it contained no chakra. He was astonished for a time. It hit his knowledge blind spot. Samahata. Kisame disregarded his critical injuries and focused on Samahata in his palm. Samahata's large tongue was fully protruding. It seemed as if it was ready to faint. Don't look like that. Quickly lend me the stored chakra and merge it with me, otherwise. Kisami's mind started to blur. Otherwise, I'll have to fall asleep. Samahata seems to have life. It actually blended with Kisame. Ghost sharks' bodies eventually begin to transform. If he seemed to be a half-human, half-fish hybrid at first, he now seems even more like a blend of the two. Kisami's injuries started to heal swiftly at the time of merging with Samahata, and he healed quickly. He emerged from the water. Huff! Huff! The breathless Kisame gradually grinned. What a terrifying man, Whitebeard. Ow! Holding his shattered arm, knelt on the ground and dry heaved violently. He was the first of the kirigakure ninjas to respond. He was also the first to prepare a defense in advance. However, given his present condition, he isn't much better than Biwa Juzo or Kisame. Ao longed to rise up, but his legs became limp, and the agony forced him to squat down. He was covered in cold perspiration as he gazed down. He discovered that his left leg, it's also broken. Chirumi Mei, what kind of monster did you bring back? Ao's lips curled a bitter smile. Did you forget to tell him that there are his allies on the side of kirigakure? Ao knew why Chirumi Mei decided to take action ahead of time. With such deadly fighting force, even if all complex planning are abandoned and the coup is carried out in the most ruthless manner, it is not impossible. The issue is, such a powerful man, agreeing to lie and instigate a coup, is it really just for that little bit of petty profit? Ao wondered. That was a guy infamous for destroying countries. Money undoubtedly looked like trash in his eyes. He decided to accept Chirumi Mei Ming's offer. He must have been chasing something more essential than money. I heard. The Kusagakure village has long been flying the flag of the Whitebeard pirates. The few surviving ninjas in the entire ninja village, each and every one of them, call themselves the running dogs under the Whitebeard pirates. Ao's expression altered to, this is bad. The catastrophe in Kusagakure village on the opposite side of the ninja world would not occur in their kirigakure village, right? What a joke. Kirigakure village is one of the top 5 ninja villages in the world. If they become puppets of the Whitebeard pirates, like the Kusagakure village did, and become playthings in the hands of a pirate organization, wouldn't that be a mess? Cough cough. Ao coughed a few times, his face reflecting bitterness as well as helplessness. But the thing has already happened. It depends on who is stronger between Whitebeard and the 4th Mizukage. Zabuza, who is not yet a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen, is dangling from a rickety huge tree. He doesn't want to hang from the tree, he just cannot move his whole body. My rib has pierced into my lung. Zabuza is covered with all types of abrasions and contusions. There are also gashes on his flesh from being smashed. The whole body seemed to have been pulled out of a pool of blood. With a more relaxed attitude and atmosphere than the others. After all, he is not the same person he was 6 years later. Damn, it hurts. Am I going to die? I really can't stand it. Zabuza's cognition is foggy, and he believes he is on the verge of death. He can live if he takes one step over, but if he takes the wrong step, he will die. If he had been a bit weaker, he may have been knocked unconscious by Whitebeard's Conqueror's Haki and blasted away by the first sword, leaving him unaffected by the shockwave. The first set of kirigakure ninjas to be blasted away by the slash attack's exploding shockwave are both unfortunate and lucky. At the very least, they avoided confronting the Quake fruit's power directly. And Zabuza was directly impacted by the Quake fruit. This is a nice example. If I die like this death is too ugly. Zabuza feels a shiver go down his spine, and he knows his clothing are probably broken from the shock. But he is unable to move, until his awareness becomes blurry. His eyes rolled backward. He passed out. This wasn't Uchiha Shisui's first experience with Whitebeard's vibration power. But no matter how many times he witnessed this force, he couldn't help but be shocked and moved in his heart. This is the power that shatters the atmosphere. Shisui took a big breath. Everything in front of him was covered in dust, making it impossible to perceive the situation ahead with the naked eye. Even if he couldn't see properly, he knew regular kirigakure ninjas couldn't take Whitebeard's fist. This punch has a wide variety of use. It is tough to deal with this unusual method. It's much tougher to avoid. If this punch falls in Konohagakure village, more than half of Konohagakure will be destroyed, right? Shisui's forehead was swollen. Does that mean that Whitebeard didn't use his full strength when he fought against the third Hokage in Konohagakure? Or is it to say, he is not using his full strength right now? Shisui couldn't conceive how horrible the damage would be if Whitebeard unleashed the force of vibration with all his might. Shisui said, "Who is stronger, Whitebeard or our Uchiha clan's ancestor?" He thought about it. He could not figure it out. He moved his head to look at Kakashi and others, and he saw that everyone, even Kakashi's predecessor and the younger Naruto, Uzumaki Karen, seemed to be calm in the face of Whitebeard's great strength. On the contrary, Uchiha Shisui, the body flicker of Konohagakure village, seemed to be a little rustic. Like witnessing a large scene for the first time. Maybe, her reaction is similar to mine. Shisui's eyes settled on Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei's response was identical to Shisui's, and the changes on their faces were very comparable. Terumi Mei's astonishment was bigger than Shisui's. As this? Whitebeard? She knew Whitebeard was very strong. Otherwise, she would not have attempted to unite with him and forge an alliance with the Whitebeard pirates. Terumi Mei did not anticipate this. In the realm of ninjas, who would expect someone to be that incredibly strong? Kirigakure village's battle power seemed to be paper in front of this guy. All of the Chunin were taken aback when they discovered that they could only depend on momentum. Finally, use a light punch. I'm not sure how many people will perish at the hands of Whitebeard, given how many special Jonin, and unconscious Chunin were stunned and flew away. I know there will be bloodshed here, and many people will die. The entire Kirigakure village needs to be brought to the brink of destruction before it can be reborn. But the question is, isn't the death toll a bit too high? Terumi Mei was dazed. She assumed she could control the situation, but she discovered that she couldn't control any aspect of it. Right. The fourth Mizukage, Terumi Mei instantly focused her sight on the heavy dust ahead. Is he dead? If the individual responsible for Kirigakure village's true demise is murdered, no amount of sacrifice will be in vain. However, Terumi Mei's pupils shrank. She could sense a really wicked chakra pouring through the heavy dust. It seems to be not good. She couldn't help but be alarmed. Whitebeard Dono, be careful. The fourth Mizukage is not dead. He is a perfect Jinchuriki of the three tails. He's using the power of the tailed beast. ... Ha. A peculiar panting sound emanated from beneath the dust, so loud that it did not like human panting. It was more of a scary beast, panting furiously in rage. Edward Newgate, Whitebeard. Unforgivable. An incredibly unpleasant scream caused an unseen sound wave to travel in all directions, sweeping away a considerable quantity of dust. Revealing the figure of Karatachi Yagura. No one can leave alive in my current state. Karatachi Yagura's looks has experienced profound modifications. A massive quantity of chakra engulfed his body. The visible chakra, like rolling magma, took on the shape of a bizarre beast. The size was also more than a dozen times greater than Karatachi Yagura's little physique, around the size of a rhinoceros. A pair of eyes incapable of seeing any emotions, only the many hues were gleaming white. Karatachi Yagura's limbs were on the ground, but his three broad tails were continually waving behind him. The momentum was gradually increasing. I am invincible in this form. Karatachi Yagura's voice turned from a soft boy's voice to a gruff one. No enemy can survive from my form, and you, Whitebeard, are no exception. His physical alterations caused both Kakashi and Shisui's pupils to shrink. The power of the tailed beast? Is this the chakra cloak of the tailed beast? Shisui wasn't expecting it. Is this a perfect Jinchuriki? Three tails. A darkness appeared in Kakashi's eyes, and Karatachi Yagura's shape triggered his awful recollections. Rin. Evokes the picture of being stabbed through the chest. It was difficult to get out of Kakashi's head. Tisk. It's that guy with three tails. Kurama's words echoed in Naruto's mind. Tisk. I didn't expect this guy to actually recognize such a weak human being, it's simply a disgrace to us tailed beasts. Kurama's tone was disdainful. Big Fox, do you know him? Naruto was surprised for a time before asking carefully. Kurama spoke things straightforwardly. It, like me, it is also a tailed beast. Don't look at this guy with 3 tails, it can't even compare to a single hair of mine, the 9 tails. Naruto was frowned upon. Big Fox, why do you like to brag so much? He is Mizukage of a village after all. You say you are stronger than him, why don't you come out and defeat him? Hey, stinky brat, do you think I am a fool? Kurama quickly jabbed Naruto's little thoughts. Your provocation tactics are useless against me. Uzumaki Fushi was watching carefully at Kiritachi Yagura. Being a member of the Uzumaki clan, she was acquainted with the tailed beasts. The Uzumaki clan's unique sealing method, along with the Sharingan, is regarded as one of the tailed beast's nemeses. A golden chain sprang from her hand. That was a chain of chakras. She will seal the tailed beast as long as the circumstances are slightly wrong, even if it means putting her life in danger. Even if she can just seal the other for a few seconds, what's the harm in giving Whitebeard an edge at the expense of her own life? Stupid daughter. Whitebeard's voice suddenly entered Uzumaki Fushi's mind. Gaara, I see your will to die in your eyes. Uzumaki Fushi was taken aback and glanced up, only to discover that Whitebeard had never shown the 4th Mizukage his eyes. At this point, Whitebeard turned his head to look at her. Don't worry, Whitebeard smiled confidently, which let Uzumaki Fushi relax. I am your pops, the Emperor of the New World. Edward Newgate. Whitebeard, who said this statement, was filled with pride. Also during this period, Kiritachi Yagura seized the initiative and attacked Whitebeard. Bang! He stamped forcefully on the ground with the tailed beast chakra's muscular limbs, and the earth under his boots was trampled out a not so small hole, while an unseen wave of air pushed away a significant quantity of pebbles. Kiritachi Yagura's corpse sped at Whitebeard like a missile, and a black iron rod with a hook literally bore out of his torso, and very precisely snagged Whitebeard's wrist. He tried hard to hook, hoping to draw Whitebeard and slam him to the ground. However, he discovered that Whitebeard's unique strength was remarkable. He could not move him at all. HMPH, Rising Coral Attack. Kiritachi Yagura responded fast, inserting his tail furiously into the earth. Within an instant, a vast quantity of red coral erupted from the ground, and each piece was as hard as a rock. The effect of the quick increase even propelled Whitebeard upward. This is not any kind of ninjutsu. This is only the power of the tailed beast. Water release. Water collapsing bullet. Kiritachi Yagura performed a water release ninjutsu that does not need hand seals, causing a massive volume of water vapor to condense above Whitebeard, producing a gigantic water ball with a diameter of more than 10 meters. Boom, boom, boom. The water ball dropped directly at Whitebeard. It detonated instantaneously. The earth behind Whitebeard had collapsed into a hole, and the splashing water was like sharp water blades, washing away a crevice in some of the random stones nearby. But at this point, a massive arm emerged from the gushing water everywhere. The arm was muscular. The skin remained intact. Kiritachi Yagura was caught off guard, and Whitebeard firmly grabbed the black iron hook that sprang from his torso. Kiritachi Yagura recognized that Whitebeard's wrist had already broken free, and when he tried to bring the iron hook back, he couldn't. He who wields the power of the tailed beast has less strength than Whitebeard. Kirigakure brat, are you trying to give me a bath? Gaara, Whitebeard joked, smiling. Then his arm moved with a startling vigor. Whitebeard swung Kiritachi Yagura's body with ease. With a swipe from Whitebeard. Bang! The ground trembled slightly, and Kiritachi Yagura's body smashed squarely against it. The huge power caused his chakra cloak to become unstable. Before Kiritachi Yagura could get up, Whitebeard's massive fist had already crashed down. Bang! A powerful blow landed on Kiritachi Yagura's skull. Even without utilizing the armament hockey, it jolted Kiritachi Yagura's brain. His eyesight was little fuzzy. Damn it! He shouted under his breath, and the 3 tails flew out, followed by the sharp sound of shattering through the air, thrusting directly toward Whitebeard. Whitebeard did not duck or escape being struck by those three tails, and even took the time to question, "Kirigakure brat, haven't you eaten?" HMPH. Karatachi Yagura snarled. "You are too reckless, Whitebeard. You do not realize the might of a tailed beast." Whitebeard took notice. Karatachi Yagura's chakra tail struck 3 places of his body, and they started to sprout odd hard items. Coral? At a glance, Whitebeard identified these white particles as coral, and he could feel them expanding constantly. With a single second, half of his body was covered with coral. His whole body was caught in coral. Great opportunity. Karatachi Yagura rose swiftly while he had the opportunity. Just as he was ready to move, he detected a little vibration in the air. What? Karatachi Yagura's eyes narrowed under the chakra cloak as he saw the coral covering Whitebeard's torso begin to fracture. Bang! A significant quantity of coral debris detonated and flew away. Whitebeard's body was exposed. Compared to the fruit talent of that frozen brat from the military, your coral is still a little raw. Whitebeard smiled and delivered a stern assessment. Allow me to tear open your annoying coral. Whitebeard struck out with his sword. Murakumogiri's blade was exceedingly black, encased in armament haki. The sword that Whitebeard cut caused Karatachi Yagura's heart to stiffen, and 3 thick tails extended forward, chakra rushing. Water release. Circular water shield. Karatachi Yagura's body was covered in a shield-like water mirror, and the blade of Murakumogiri sliced through it the next second. What? Karatachi Yagura's eyes dilated slightly when his ninjutsu was cruelly split in 2 by Whitebeard's blade. The massive blade of Murakumogiri was close at hand. It landed on the tailed beast's chakra coat. Even the exploding tags cannot penetrate the chakra cloak of the tailed beast metamorphosis. Karatachi Yagura's words were not complete as he witnessed the massive sword of Murakumogiri slash through the chakra coat. Murakumogiri's sword was less than 5 centimeters from his nose, and the wind it created was sharper than the blade itself. Karatachi Yagura's nose hurts. Blood spurted forth. His nose and upper lip were literally slashed from top to bottom by the curled-up airflow. The tailed beast's chakra coat is very hard, but Whitebeard's deep-seated armament haki is much sharper, and the edge of the mighty sword Murakumogiri is unbreakable. Whitebeard. Karatachi Yagura let out a ferocious howl with a mouthful of anguish, and a significant quantity of coral flowed out of his body towards Murakumogiri's sword. When Whitebeard carefully took out Murakumogiri, Karatachi Yagura seized the chance to flee. He separated himself from Whitebeard. Damn! Karatachi Yagura touched the space between his nose and top lip, and he felt one of his front teeth come out, being sliced in half. Although the tailed beast's chakra helps his wounds heal swiftly, the suffering is genuine. He gazed at Whitebeard, his eyes wide open. Whitebeard smiled. Whitebeard destroyed the coral that wrapped around Murakumogiri's sword, leaving the keen blade intact. Water release. Coral Dragon Bullet. Karatachi Yagura made a very strange move to bring his claws together, and the seal's speed left an afterimage. He opened his mouth and vomited forth an enormous water dragon. Under the practically limitless supply of chakra from the tailed beast, the water dragon spewed forth by the water dragon bullet technique is enormous, and the fearsome dragon head is equivalent to a wave on the sea. The massive dragon head is even ringed by clusters of coral, making it much more powerful than the standard water dragon bullet approach. Wherever it goes, the waves are crashing. Gurarararararara. This massive dragon head reminds me of an old seafaring companion. Gurarararara. Whitebeard swung out with a sword, and the cutting sword aura spread over half of the woodland, while the flying slash tail extended 1,000 meters into the sky. While cutting the coral water dragon bullet technique in half, the slash traveled directly to Karatachi Yagura without losing speed. Karatachi Yagura was struck by a flying slash on the spot. The rhino-sized body, like a baseball being hit, smashed beyond the sound barrier and shattered the sonic cloud. He soared recklessly back to an unknown destination, until he was crushed into a mountain range behind him. With a rumble and a loud sound, half of the mountain range has crumbled. Puff. Karatachi Yagura, whose body was embedded in the mountain, vomited a mouthful of blood. The red light in the deepest portion of his eyes could no longer be disguised, and the Sharingan genjutsu spun frantically in his eyes. But this was clearly not his Sharingan. He didn't have one, but someone had long ago used a secret genjutsu on him. The kirigakure community believed that the Sharingan genjutsu he was under had been removed. In reality, there was a deeper layer of genjutsu concealed beneath. Whitebeard. Karitachi Yagura's voice sounded like two persons talking. His attractive expression of concern started to shift. His physique was steadily becoming bigger. Isobu. Karitachi Yagura's homicidal purpose had grown stronger, and his eyes were now a sea of red. Lend me all your might. I want to kill that Whitebeard. Just use that move. The Mizukage in half-beast form was just cut off with a sword like that. Whitebeard's cut, which reached a kilometer into the sky and covered half of the woodland, caused Shisui's forehead to break out in a few droplets of cold perspiration. He even questioned if his own eye, forced open to the Susanoo, was powerful enough to sever Whitebeard's blade. It's normal, Kakashi said calmly. He has also seen a number of big scenes. Kakashi tucked his hands in his pockets, knowing that he didn't need them just now. Kakashi said, Shimura Danzo, who wishes to remove your eyes, is probably not much different from this fourth Mizukage, right? In front of Whitebeard, he looks like a baby. He wants to escape Whitebeard, even if it means sacrificing and betraying his own summoning beast. Even if he escapes, I believe he will be no better off than half dead. This is a man whose individual strength is enough to shake the ninja world, and the human sea tactics won't work much on him. Yeah. Shisui nodded in accord. To use human sea tactics against Whitebeard, first overcome the barrier of Conqueror's Haki, then the power of vibration. Whitebeard has just these two odd powers, is enough to eliminate 99.9% of the ninjas. Exaggerated to the extremes, Shisui reflected about the third Hokage's loss to Whitebeard, murmuring to himself, I'm not sure who's stronger between the third Hokage in his prime and Whitebeard. Kakashi genuinely wanted to say, Whitebeard is unquestionably stronger. But to preserve face for the third Hokage, he stated a hypocritical sentence. At his height, the third Hokage is a well-known ninja in the ninja world, as well as the ninjutsu professor and the strongest Hokage in Konohagakure village's history. Whitebeard is eventually little weaker than the peak third Hokage. No way. Grandpa Hokage is clearly not as excellent as Pops. Naruto's abrupt interruption drew Kakashi's attention. Naruto's expression was serious. Although Grandpa Hokage is incredibly strong, I believe Pops is more powerful than Grandpa Hokage. Maybe. Kakashi wept for Sarutobi Hiruzen for a little while. He knew that the old Naruto would never say such a thing. If you had asked Naruto a few months ago who was stronger between Whitebeard and the third Hokage, he would have been stumped for quite some time. But now Naruto says it without hesitation. This demonstrates the relationship between Naruto and the third Hokage has gotten more shallow. Hokage, you are useless. Kakashi sighed quietly in his heart. For some reason, he seemed to be enjoying Naruto's transformation. He was likewise pleased to see the third Hokage vanquished. Hey, brat. Kurama's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. Don't worry about who is stronger, Whitebeard or some broken third Hokage. The guy with 3 tails is going to use the tailed beast bomb. Tailed beast bomb? Naruto was astonished. What is that? That's one of the tailed beast's ultimate weapons. Kurama said proudly, almost arrogantly, that's a technique that's even more powerful than your ninja's S-rank forbidden technique. As long as you compress your own chakra nature to an extreme, and condense it into a spherical shape according to the appropriate ratio of yin and yang, you can condense a very terrifying tailed beast bomb. In this universe, nobody, cough cough, that is, no one can survive the tailed beast bomb. Kurama exaggerated the tailed beast's strength. It tells a little falsehood. Because many years ago, there was a phenomenally powerful person who captured its tailed beast bomb with a gigantic wooden man and even used it as a weapon to push down on it. This type of black history cannot be discussed. Otherwise, the stinking brat would laugh it off. Brat. You just break up the seal of the ceiling area so that I may give you the utmost strength. Kurama said, although you are a very unpleasant brat, I don't want to die so young. No. Naruto shook his head. I'm not sure how powerful your tailed beast bomb is, but I know Pops is very powerful. Naruto said unequivocally. Pops is not weaker than the fourth Mizukage. Naruto stated it from his heart. The four ninjas next to him, Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Shisui, Uzumaki Fushi, and Tsurumi Mei, all had different expressions. Everyone stared incredulously at the faraway mountains. What type of chakra fluctuation is that? Uzumaki Fushi was surprised. Can it be sensed so clearly from such a far distance? It is the power of the tailed beast. Kakashi had already slipped his hand out of his pocket, and a three-hooked Sharingan was slowly rotating. The fourth Mizukage, as expected, was not easily killed. Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan was filled with evil and strangeness. He was furiously squeezing the chakra from his body to cope with unusual events. At the same time, he added, Kakashi-senpai, I get a horrible feeling. If anything occurs next, I'll employ Susanoo right away. Is it so serious? Kakashi's eyelids jumped. Everyone could sense the unusual movement in the distance, even Whitebeard. Even if Whitebeard isn't a ninja, but there is a lingering sigh in the distant. He could feel it vividly. Garararara. Whitebeard narrowed his eyes. So this is the tailed beast of the ninja world, a monster similar to Naruto's fox. Its reputation in the ninja world is certainly not in vain. If Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo, Orochimaru, Sasori, or any of these individuals grabbed that blade with their flesh, they would undoubtedly die. But the fourth Mizukage, a flawless Jinchuriki, resisted it, or he was cured by the tailed beast after being gravely hurt. A black ball? Whitebeard's strong observation haki could see a very little black ball in the distance. He could also see Karatachi Yagura emerge from the mountains, but his look had altered again. Karatachi Yagura was more than 10 times bigger than previously. His already awful shape has become much hideous, like a malformed huge turtle. The massive head does not resemble a turtle's head at all. There are 3 massive tails waving behind him, like a sea king slithering on land. Of all, when compared to some of the sea kings that Whitebeard witnessed in the New World, Karataki Yagura's present stature is rather modest. That ball. Whitebeard's mind flashed an image of a black sphere surging towards him with an irresistible force, a chakra beam capable of tearing everything apart, burning everything around it, causing a violent roar and explosion that covered the entire forest, transforming it into flat ground in a matter of seconds. Hey. Whitebeard's grin dimmed slightly. What a reckless kirigakure brat, doesn't he worry about murdering all of his companions? Or does this brat not understand the notion of companionship at all? Whitebeard grasped Murakumogiri. Buas. With a buzzing sound, Whitebeard's Murakumogiri was already covered by a 2-meter-wide vibration lightwave. When it appeared, the stones under his feet trembled slightly, and the ground felt a tiny earthquake. Stupid son, hide behind me. Just as Whitebeard finished saying this, a tailed beast bomb from Karatachi Yagura and Three Tails Isobu was already approaching quickly. The tailed beast bomb poured from the mouth. It turned into a catastrophic wave. We're heading right for Whitebeard. The blinding light from the wave made people's eyes suffer for a moment, and wherever the tailed beast bomb traveled, trees in the ground were broken. When the tailed beast bomb passed by, a lake in the forest evaporated instantaneously, and the animals within were turned into charcoal. At the same moment, Whitebeard's arms were bursting with veins, and the hilt of the Murakumogiri he wielded was twisted. A sword enveloped in a vibration light wave cut savagely into the sky. Crack. This blade has the same visual effect and ultimate devastating force as the oncoming tailed beast bomb. Boom. The vibration wave and the tailed beast bomb impacted forcefully in midair, causing everyone who was still aware to see white smoke in front of their eyes. The massive explosion generated by the violent collision of the two sides surged into the sky, affecting a group of unfortunate birds traveling hundreds of meters above the ground, and crushing more than a dozen birds into powder on the spot. The rushing gale, like unseen steel blades, carved trenches in the sinking dirt. Kakashi and the others only felt pain in their eyes and ears. The following moment, there was a sensation of the sky dropping and the ground sinking. The dust in the sky and the surging wind were racing towards them. If they didn't stand behind Whitebeard, I am afraid they would have been blown away long ago. The aftermath of the clash of Whitebeard and Kiritachi Yagura's blows is similar to S-class ninjutsu. No matter how strong the ninja's defenses are, if they are in the heart of the explosion, they will be crushed to powder. Has the fourth Mizukage gone mad? Tsurumi Mei's hair was blown wild by the storm, leaving her scalp hurt. Tsurumi Mei mumbled in a trance, he will slaughter the people in the village. He has so many ninjas, but he isn't concerned about their safety. Tsurumi Mei could not have imagined how many kirigakure ninjas would perish as a consequence of the clash of these two attacks. She can only hope that a few more fortunate ones will live. In this manner, kirigakure will not be exterminated. ... Oh my, it's very wonderful. It will ruin this forest. How many creatures will die? This is a huge sin. Oh my. On the edge of the forest, a strange guy wearing a mask stood on a large tree, experiencing gusts of wind blowing in his face. The Akatsuki organization uniform on his body was almost torn to bits by the wind. The masked man's discourse has a strong sense of humor and includes some exaggerated body motions. But the next second, his tone abruptly shifted. It's as if he hit puberty in the blink of an eye. Even after employing the tailed beast bomb, it was successfully blocked. Tisk tisk. Whitebeard is far more useful than Kiritachi Yagura. Uchiha Obito's mouth behind the mask connected slightly. The excessive motions converged. Isn't this an example of mutual manipulation? If Whitebeard can murder Kiritachi Yagura, it signifies that the fourth Mizukage is ineffective, and he should pay for Rin's death with his own life. Then use the Sharingan's genjutsu to control Whitebeard. It's far more effective than controlling a Kiritachi Yagura. One Whitebeard can support at least 3 Kiritachi Yagura. He exudes arrogance and believes he has complete control over everything. Only one eye is visible in the mask. But Shisui has also arrived. Obito squinted his eyes. Can Whitebeard see what I do with my eyes? No, he can't see it. Obito rubbed his head, his voice sharpened again, as if he were speaking with a pinched voice. Oh my, why am I so self-deprecating? The man with the Byakugan from Kirigakure village thought he had discovered my genjutsu. He believed he had dispelled the genjutsu, but he had not, and I was still able to fool him. An illusion that even the Byakugan can't perceive, not even with the Mangekyo Sharingan. His eyes traveled far into the trees. He nervously stroked his chin. If Kiritachi Yagura dies, would the 3 tails also perish? Oh my, I forgot about this. Obito hit his palms together, regretting. It's difficult to locate a tailed beast in the whole ninja world. However, it seems that I may delegate this task to members of the Akatsuki group. ... How is it possible that he truly blocked? Isobu, did you not employ your whole strength? Did you not grant me all of your power? Kiritachi Yagura was panting hard, and interrogating the 3-tailed Isobu. Yagura, you'd better not talk to me in that tone, Isobu stated dissatisfiedly. I've already lent you all of my power, and this tailed beast bomb is also my strongest attack. This tailed beast bomb can definitely destroy 3 or 4 forests of this size, but the enemy you provoked, his strange power has offset most of the tailed beast bomb. The 3 tails Isobu hesitated for a time before continuing. That odd vibration power has broken much of the chakra in the tailed beast bomb. Damn it. Kiritachi Yagura clenched his teeth. Give him another one. If 1 isn't enough, try 2, and if that isn't enough, 3. Do you believe I am the stinking fox? The 3 tails Isobu said. Every time I use the tailed beast bomb, I need at least half an hour before I can use it again. Hey, the person you've provoked is on his way. Isobu gave an abrupt recall. Gurararararara. Whitebeard's hearty laughter came from afar. Another ninja brat who ignores the life of his teammates. You ninja brats. It is because of this persona that I am so furious with you. How does this guy move so fast? Kiritachi Yagura glanced up in surprise, only to see that Whitebeard had somehow reduced the space between them. Whitebeard, who was over 6 meters tall, had taken a 100-meter high jump. The overwhelming energy exudes the overpowering aura of the Emperor of the Sea. Compared to the extraordinary height of the three tails, which stood at 49 meters. Whitebeard's height of little over 6 meters did not appear very noteworthy. However, his vibe was radically different from his height. The Mizukage, made up of the three tails and Kiritachi Yagura, had a weaker aura than Whitebeard's. The minute Kiritachi Yagura's sight rested on Whitebeard, he had already swung his big sword down after leaping into the air. The black blade, coated with armament haki, sparkled with a dazzling metallic brilliance in the sunlight. Water release. Water shockwave. A completely changed Kiritachi Yagura wielded a low-level water release ninjutsu with the coverage of an S-rank ninjutsu as the rushing water raced higher. At first view, it seemed to be a waterfall running in reverse. Crashing into Whitebeard's body. Will you give me another bath, kirigakure brat? Whitebeard's one blow fractured the extraordinarily broad water wave, and his body continued to descend as he thrust his enormous sword downwards. The blade of Murakumogiri easily cut through the shell of the three tails. The almost 10-meter-long great sword immediately entered the shell and plunged into the flesh within, and Whitebeard's foot heavily trod on the shell. Bang! Whitebeard's foot left two small craters in the thick shell on the three tails' back, and fine fractures started to spread in all directions. Whitebeard, Kiritachi Yagura and the three tails shouted in unison, and three massive tails, like swimming dragons, dashed for Whitebeard. Whitebeard took out Murakumogiri with his right hand, stopping one of its tails. He stretched out with his left hand, and with a strong hold. He caught another tail in his hand. With Whitebeard's single-handed pull, he used this tail to block the third tail. Whitebeard's horrifying power was such that even the three tails couldn't control the movement of its tails and had to let Whitebeard pull and drag them. Kirigakure brat, if you were in the Grand Line, you'd barely be a small sea king, Whitebeard grins. Shut up, pirate. Kiritachi Yagura clenched his teeth. He had no idea what the Sea King's Whitebeard described. But he could detect scorn in the other's tone. Water release. Water/wave. Countless water blades, like hundreds of kunai, instantly condensed from the air's water molecules and the tailed beast's chakra. Each water blade was targeted at Whitebeard, and like a sudden deluge, they rushed at him. This is the water/wave, which can cut through steel. Kiritachi Yagura shouted, "Whitebeard, I'll chop you into pieces." When the first water blade landed on Whitebeard, the predicted splattering of flesh and blood didn't happen. Instead, the water blade just dissolved. Countless water blades dropped on Whitebeard, yet they did not inflict any harm. If anybody looked at Whitebeard, they would be surprised to discover that his whole body was glittering with a metallic shine. This was the whole coverage of armament haki. What? Even though Kiritachi Yagura couldn't see what was going on behind him, he had a feeling Whitebeard hadn't died. He didn't even notice the stench of blood. That meant his assault was totally futile. The peculiar sound of the vibrating light wave was extremely weak, but it sounded like the Grim Reaper's trumpet in Kiritachi Yagura's ears. Whitebeard's left fist, which was already encompassed by the vibrating light wave, was visible. The enormous Kiritachi Yagura couldn't avoid this attack, and Whitebeard nonchalantly crushed his hand down. Crack. The air broke. The strong vibration generated obvious fissures in the three tails shell. In the following instant, bang! Whitebeard's punch fractured the shell of the three tails, isobu, causing at least half of its huge shell to break open, spewing shell pieces that were more powerful than cannonballs. Isobu's massive bulk dropped to the earth below, its terrible jaws wide open, emitting a meaningless howl. It is uncertain whether it was in agony or in outrage. Kirigakure brat, if you don't trust and respect your colleagues and subordinates, you are a horrible person. Whitebeard rushed up again, his blade encased in conqueror haki. As he went, Murakumogiri's sword softly slipped through the air, drawing off strands of black lightning. Haki armor also protected the blade. Both varieties of haki emerged simultaneously. A terrible person like you, even if you're in the harsh new world, even in the eyes of the most ruthless pirates, you would be loathed by many people. As a man, you need to have some righteousness. Kirigakure brat. Gurarararararara. Whitebeard's face was full with laughter. He flung his sword downward. Kirigakure Yagura, having lost the safety of his shell, frantically swung his three tails, attempting to block Whitebeard's sword. But even before Murakumogiri's sword contacted the three tails, an intangible feeling of ripping ripped them apart. This is the Conqueror's Haki. The immense force and shock waves shattered the tailed beast's body inch by inch, destroying even the earth underneath it. In addition to the tremendous storm, there was black lightning in the air, along with the tailed beast's howl and cry. Conqueror's Haki rushed over the landscape. It was unstoppable. Yagura. I can't stop this sword. The concerned voice of the three tails, Isobu, broke out in Kirigakure Yagura's consciousness. The tailed beast's body, comprised of chakra, continued to explode like an exploded bomb, sending booming noises into the sky. The fiercely trembling earth was being demolished like never before. The tailed beast's body was clearly fading. Kirigakure Yagura's body gradually formed, his eyes burning crimson, and the Sharingan pattern in his pupils was quite visible. In the presence of Kirigakure Yagura and Uchiha Obito, the filthy sword in front of him was repeatedly amplified. He could even see the black lightning that surrounded the unclean sword's blade. Everything contained the breath of death. Water Mirror Jutsu. This was Kirigakure Yagura's last ninjutsu, yet the look on his face froze immediately. Beyond the limits of Water Mirror Jutsu. His water mirror did not dig out another, Whitebeard. Murakumogiri was less than 10 meters away from him. At this distance, he could even see Whitebeard's laughing. That proud man, from beginning to finish, never genuinely fought a war with him, the fourth Mizukage. The Conqueror's Haki first contacted Kirigakure Yagura's human form, shattering his flesh in an instant. He seemed terribly terrified. However, at the time of his death, the Sharingan pattern in his eyes started to dissolve significantly. Kirigakure Yagura's true awareness returned upon his death. Whitebeard. Kirigakure Yagura's gaze shifted from wrath to homicidal purpose. To get outstanding clarity and brightness. Thank you for releasing me. Please take care of Akatsuki, take care. Be sure. Boom. His small body burst. The fourth Mizukage of Kirigakure village. Died in combat. Kakashi grabbed Naruto with one hand and Karen with the other, saving the two children from being blasted away. The raging storm, followed by dust in the air, overwhelmed them all. Wind release. Fantastic breakthrough. Shisui teleported in front of Kakashi. He instantly created hand seals with both hands and utilized a wind release ninjutsu towards the front to prevent the approaching storm. But wind release ninjutsu is not Shisui's greatest ninjutsu. Not only did he fail to block it, but he also swallowed a huge quantity of dust, forcing him to cough often. Everyone needed to lower their bodies, to prevent being swept away by the storm. The image they saw resembled an apocalyptic catastrophe. The sky above was entirely coated in black dust, and it was plainly noon, but everything else was dark. The howling wind was like a beast roaring, and the falling ground was like an earth dragon rolling over. A variety of tragedies emerged in front of their eyes. This noise lasted more than half a minute until it died down. It was a heart-stopping event. It causes individuals to worry. Their expressions were full of disbelief. Cough, cough, oh, my goodness. Shisui's face was rather blue, and he spit out the dust in his mouth. The dust in the air showered his body, making him appear quite humiliated. As the dust settled, the image in front of them got clearer and clearer, and Shisui's countenance became more astonished. This is Whitebeard? How can there be such a strong individual in the world? Shisui spoke from his heart. There was a tremendous mess in front of them. Looking around, the whole forest had been flattened, and all of the trees, critters, and insects had been reduced to dust, leaving just a lonely landscape. There were fractures and ditches all across the terrain, and innumerable pits. The thick fractures were like a magnitude 10 earthquake had happened. The straight and narrow trenches were like gigantic rifts that had arisen out of thin air, so deep that people couldn't tell how deep they were, and the pits were like those left by falling meteorites. It was incredible. It was like a dream. As the residential area of Konahagakure village thus large, Shisui remembered and discovered that the residential section of Konohagakure village was only approximately half the extent of this forest. However, the whole forest has been flattened, and the surrounding areas have experienced severe harm. If such a war occurred in Konohagakure village, won't the whole Konohagakure be destroyed? That is to say, Whitebeard was holding back when he was fighting with Hokage-sama. Shisui was thinking to himself, this man, if he made a move inside Konohagakure village, I'm afraid there wouldn't be many survivors in the entire Konohagakure. Why didn't Whitebeard fight Hokage-sama with all his might? Was it because he didn't want to harm the innocent? Despite the fact that he is a pirate, I never regard him as a villain. He is indeed not a villain. Kakashi's voice spoke from behind Shisui. From my shallow understanding of Whitebeard, rather than saying he is a vicious pirate, it's better to say he is a hero who yearns for family in the sea. Shisui was taken aback. A hero? He had a startling thought. Is there a presence like Jiraiya-sama in our Konohagakure village? This is a more heroic figure than Jiraiya-sama. He insisted. It's because of his heroic spirit that so many people want to become his family. Kakashi stared at Naruto and Karen as he said this. He then gazed at Uzumaki Fushi. These three individuals were all attracted by Whitebeard's charm. To be honest, even he thought Whitebeard was incredibly captivating, with an incredible personal appeal. What an amazing elderly guy. Uncle Kakashi. Did Pops win? He clearly won, right? Naruto asked, grasping Kakashi's arm. However, Naruto forgot that his grasp was not weak. Kakashi winced at the hard grasp. Ouch, Naruto. Kakashi instantly took his hand away, revealing a handprint on his forearm. He groaned miserably and added, based on the current situation, the chances of Whitebeard prevailing are strong. But I am not sure whether it will be a narrow triumph, a hard-fought victory, or a total victory. After all, I do not have the Byakugan. Who would have guessed, the fourth Mizukage? Defeated just like that, he was the ideal Jinchuriki. A tailed beast plus a village's cage. Every action Whitebeard makes is stunning. Kakashi was still quite emotional. He believed that if a guy like Whitebeard came during the Third Great Ninja War, no one would be able to beat him. Unless all of the ninja villages in the whole globe banded together against him. Only then could they be able to beat him. For example, the Third Raikage in the Third Great Ninja War was exhausted and died after fighting 10,000 ninjas for 3 days and nights in a row. Pops was the winner. Suddenly, a fairly immature voice emerged from the side. Everyone's attention shifted to Karen. Karen kept her eyes closed. The Uzumaki clan's chakra healing rate was quicker than that of regular people, and she had reactivated her mind's eye of the Kagura. Pop's condition is no different from when he started. Karen said with her eyes closed, her words stunning. The bad guy who fought with Pops has no chakra fluctuations. What? Chirumi May inquired urgently. What does it mean if there are no more chakra fluctuations? Does this imply that the fourth Mizukage, has he been slain by Whitebeard? You. Karen opened her eyes, shaking her head in confusion. I don't know, but I really can't feel the existence of that bad guy. Then he must be dead. His soul has already vanished. I'm not sure whether he's gone to paradise or hell. Uzumaki Fushi revealed. When the Uzumaki clan's mind's eye of the Kagura can't detect a person's existence, that person has a 90% probability of dying. There's also a 10% possibility he's fled far away, beyond the range of the Kagura's mind's eye. Regardless of the probability, it's enough to explain the ancient expression, desperate to live. When Uzumaki Fushi said this, she discreetly sighed with relief. The heart that had been fretting about Whitebeard could finally be put down. The fourth Mizukage is dead. Chirumi May mumbled these two phrases, her countenance somewhat bewildered. She didn't anticipate the meticulously planned coup to be completed so easily, but the cost felt a little too steep. Chirumi May was continually reminded of the devastating losses sustained by their kirigakure community at this period. The phrase, desperate to live, is not incorrect. But this desperation is a little too fatal. Fortunately, the fourth Mizukage did not summon the genin ninjas of the village over. There should still be some chunin and jonin patrolling the hamlet. Otherwise, the hamlet would be completely devastated. Chirumi May gulped a mouthful of saliva. Whitebeard left a lasting effect on her. Like the strength of a deity. Unforgettable. Hey, hello, isn't this joke a little overboard? Kisame is one of the few kirigakure ninjas who did not pass out, and even he, a solid man, expressed surprise. Is this a power capable of destroying the world? Actually, Kisame knew what was coming when he watched the fourth Mizukage unleash the tailed beast. A godly battle. After all, Kisame, known as the tailless tailed beast. He is well aware of the devastating force of that level of combat. But he didn't anticipate that he would still underestimate it. He was still quite conservative. Kisame had already disengaged from Samahata, and he held the large sword, Samahata, in front of him to prevent the most of the aftershock. Looking at the dramatic scenario in front of him, Kisame took a big breath. Whitebeard. Juan. The combined force of a whole town is insufficient to defeat one man. He stood on higher ground. He could see with his own eyes how the gigantic three tails, Isobu, erupted like it had millions of explosive tags affixed to it. The mighty tailed beast was destroyed inch by inch. The shockwave from that direction even reached Kisame. It caused him to sense a rush of blood, almost sustained internal damage. You should know that he was further away than Kakashi and the others, and that he could feel such an aftershock from such a distance, so you can understand how much psychological shock Kisame received. If you don't trust your comrades or respect your subordinates, you are a horrible person. As a man, you should have some righteousness. A voice rang in Kisame's head. He recalled the two phrases Whitebeard yelled, which rang across the forest. Even from his position, he could dimly hear Whitebeard's noble words. Did you actually mean what you said, Whitebeard? As Kisame placed the large sword, Samahata, over his shoulder, the self-doubt in his eyes became obvious. He instantly smiled, although it was not a very attractive smile for his features. He really is a guy that people long for. Following him should be more exciting than staying in Kirigakure village, correct? On the opposite side, Whitebeard stood on a bleak, cracked terrain. Murakumogiri's tip hit the earth. How could that pompous, tailed beast go so quickly? Whitebeard was quite regretful. I was considering chopping off its flesh and having a complete meat feast for my foolish children. Things in the ninja world are strange, aren't they? The Akatsuki ninja who unexpectedly appeared. Whitebeard looked to the right. Then, a strange masked guy dressed in a red cloud black robe emerged tens of meters distant from Whitebeard at one time. Oops. The strange, masked guy scratched his head. I have been discovered. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching this amazing video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more content. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.